Welcome back to another episode of Unsolicited Thoughts and Opinions, otherwise known as Ryan's Rundown.
Disclaimer, disclaimer, disclaimer. As always, I am not a drag queen. I have never done drag. I just really love the art of drag and I love supporting these performers and these artists. So take what I say with a grain of salt, and this is all in good, pure fun.
Welcome back to another episode of Ryan's Rundown. You probably thought I wasn't going to do another episode. Well, joke's on you. So last week, the Mackie doll went back into her box and we had to say goodbye to the one and only Kamora Hall, as she's the first to sashay away this season. We start this episode by heading back into the workroom, and from the get-go, it is very obvious that Tamisha and Candy are going to be big plot points this episode, and looking at the episode as a whole, it's obvious that they have a little scuffle in the beginning of the episode, and then it's kind of muddled out during the main episode, and then Untucked is really where it hits home. Usually with these kinds of shows, during at least the first 10 minutes or so, you can tell who the episode is going to focus on, who, depending on who gets the most confessional time or whatnot. So it was pretty obvious from the get-go that Tamisha and Candy had a big part in this episode, as well as Lala Ree was getting a lot of confessionals. So it was really interesting to see that dynamic play out just through the use of the editing. Okay, so we fast forward to the next day in the workroom. I'm gonna skip over the mini challenge because I could honestly care less about mini challenges on this show unless it's the reading challenges. And this week's challenge is the bag ball, where each queen must show 3 different looks on the runway, with the final one being completely constructed out of different types of bags. So canvas bags, tote bags, backpacks, bean bags, sleeping bags. And I personally really love design challenges. I think they're some of my favorite on this show. And a lot of times you get a lot of superstars out of these kinds of episodes, and you really see the craftsmanship behind some queens. And I thought it was just a really extra special treat that we got design episodes from both Drag Race UK and Drag Race US this week back to back. So double the design challenge this week. I was a very happy viewer. A majority of this episode is just the queens bantering in the workroom, but I did want to bring up that I really thought it was awesome that they took the time to feature Tamisha talking about ballroom culture and kind of educating people on the history of ballroom culture, because the show RuPaul's Drag Race is so referential. The runways, the categories, all these terminology, it's referential to Black history, Black queer history, ballroom culture, all of those types of things. Granted, it's 13 seasons later, but they're finally taking the time to recognize that and give a little bit of history about where all these terms and references come from, which is really great considering that the audience of the show every season gets younger and younger. You don't want these references to get lost and this culture and this history to get lost, and having younger fans thinking that this reality TV show originated the concept of a ball or categories and things of that nature. We also get a mirror talk moment from all of the queens talking about the Black Lives Matter movement, their personal feelings about it and their personal experiences with it, which I really appreciate. I thought this was a great episode for talking about real issues and real history, and I'm really glad that that conversation was shown on TV. But I know I drag the producers of the show a lot just based off of what they choose to show and what they choose not to show, because we all know that they have hours upon hours of footage of these queens chit-chatting. But the fact that they allowed these Black and POC queens to talk about these issues, and I'm glad that those queens were leading the conversation on national television, is really awesome. Okay, and now we are on to the runway. So there were 36 total looks on the runway this week, so I'm not going to take the time to talk about each and every one of them because that would be a long video and we already know I ramble a lot. So I'm just going to go through all the categories and talk about my favorite look from each one. The very first category was mixed bag, which the whole concept was to use like a bag pun type of thing. So my favorite look from the mixed bag category was Rosé's bagpipe look. I think it was so well executed from head to toe, literally looks amazing, absolutely perfect. I'm obviously a big Rosé stan, but I truly do think that she had the best mixed bag runway. Okay, the next category was money bags, which is just like very business woman, very professional. And my favorite look for this category was Simone's. I wrote down Simone's pink candy goodness. These bright colors that is she's coming out on the runway in every single week are just absolutely impeccable. And oh my gosh, it's my like jaw dropped when I saw this. It was absolutely amazing. Last category is the bag ball eleganza, which is the looks that they designed in the workroom, completely out of bags. And my favorite look has to be hands down Utica's sleeping bag look. This has got to be one of the best, if not the best, outfit ever created in that workroom for a design challenge. It was absolutely amazing. It was absolutely, I have no words for it. It was so good. The top 3 for this episode are Gottmik, Rosé, and Utica, and the bottom 3 are Joey J, Lala Ree, and Tamisha Iman. I definitely agree with the top. I definitely think overall they had the best looks. And then the bottom 3, I also agree, but I do think that every single person in the bottom had at least one good redeeming look or characteristic about one of their outfits that I don't think any of them were a complete fail all the way through. Also, I just want to make a note. I totally misheard or misinterpreted. In last week's episode, I said that, oh yeah, Joey J would edge out because she can sew. Apparently I was wrong. I don't know where I came up with that, but obviously that is not the situation. Okay, this is editing Ryan, and I would just like to update my statement about whether or not Joey J can sew. Today, January 31st, Joey J tweeted, also, real tea, I do know how to sew. I made my tongue, referring to the outfit from last week. Half the machines were broken and I had 4 hours left. You gotta make it work, so glue gun, here we go. Okay, so confirmed Joey J can sew. Maybe Joey J's not just that great with a glue gun. Okay. And it is determined that Gottmik is the winner. Personally, I probably would have given Utica the win just for that sleeping bag outfit alone. And the lip sync for this week ends up being Joey J versus Lala Ree, lip syncing to Fancy by Iggy Azalea and Charlie XCX. I didn't even need to watch the lip sync. I knew that Lala would absolutely murder this lip sync because she's such an amazing performer. And makes me sad because like I really love both of them. I think they're both so likable. I was not disappointed with this lip sync. Lala really did kill it. Now, obviously, I'm really sad to see Joey J go home this week. There's something really likable about her, and I would not have picked her to go home second out of the whole lineup of queens, but it is what it is, and I think she is definitely an amazing queen and definitely going to be remembered from this season. I think Lala has some of my favorite confessionals of this season. I think she's just got a really great personality and a beautiful face. So I'm really glad to see that she's going to be on our TV screens for another week. My untucked moment of the week. So we all watched the same episode of Untucked. That has got to be one of the most entertaining episodes of Untucked in a long time. Entertained from start to finish. I love it. That's what I want to see on Untucked. So other than the whole Tamisha Candy scuffle, which could be like literally an hour-long episode on its own, my other favorite part of Untucked was when Candy asked Elliot a simple question. It was something to the extent of, oh, who do you think should go home if you could send somebody home right now? And Elliot was taking too long, and Candy was getting a little bit like, just answer the question. And then Ellie said, well, give me a second. And then Candy said, I wrote it down, quote, girl, I'm gonna throw this can across the effing room, referring to the bubbly sparkling water can. When I tell you I laughed out loud, I thought that was so funny. That is something I would say. My top 4 is still, after this episode, Simone, Rosé, Candy. And then that last space for me is, I'm going between Denali and Mick. I say Denali because she is a really great performer, as we saw last week and the week before. She's got a great personality. I say Mick because Mick has an undeniable like sense of fashion, really kills it on the runway. Makeup is flawless. They really showed us that comedic sense of timing that they have last week, and then getting that win this week, I think it really brought Mick to the competition. So I definitely think Mick has a good chance of taking that final spot. Hello, this is editing Ryan again. When I originally filmed this, I totally forgot to talk about my current thoughts on Miss Congeniality. I'm still going to go with what I said last week, that it's between Olivia Lux and Utica, but after this week, I think that I'm leaning more towards Utica, especially after I learned on, like, it was like Twitter or something. So one of the queens said that Utica not only made her entire outfit, but she went around helping every other person in the workroom with their outfits and like sewing and stuff like that. So right now I'm leaning towards Utica. My next to go, I don't know. All the queens that are left, I wrote Tamisha ? I literally have zero clue at this point, because I really did not think that Joey would be going home this week. So I obviously don't know anything anymore. Previews show that next week is some sort of like dancing performance stage challenge again, which is very similar to the group lip syncs that they did a couple weeks ago. So literally this entire cast is made up of performers and dancers. So it's really hard to pick who is gonna like fall short. My guess, because we've gotten so much of Tamisha's storylines and like action with Tamisha and confessional stuff within these past like 3 episodes that she's been on, my guess is that her time on the show is coming to an end, because traditionally you start to see people's storylines more and more right as they're about to exit the show. So I don't know, that's where I'm at right now. The last performance challenge, she did great, but the judges really wanted her to bring it more, so I guess she would be my only like obvious pick. We'll say Tamisha ? I don't know. Tamisha's so funny in the confessional, so I don't know. Okay, and that is it for this week's episode of Ryan's Rundown. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I'm gonna get a little bit better at these as I just keep continuing to do them. If you enjoyed this content, make sure to leave a comment, give it a like, give it a little share. Let me know if I should give the rundown on anything else. I should really think of like a fun like sign off to do with these. We'll figure it out. Okay, bye.